the best entrepreneurs that I've spoken to, they speak the language of money. They understand it. It really is such an important part of entrepreneurship.
Have a tool in place early, start getting familiar with it, because as the business grows, it becomes critical, not a nice to have. And I do think the past or the historics, once you look at it, it does start to inform the future. What did I do this month that sort of got me there? So looking at your data and sort of evaluating that can help you plan ahead, but also replicate what you did to achieve good results and avoid bad decisions that maybe led to poor results in certain periods.
Hi, and welcome to the Expansive Podcast. My name is Erik, and here at the Expansive, we are all about living expansive lives, building expansive businesses, helping leaders and organizations to do that around the world. Usually, I'm joined by my ever-elegant co-host, John Sane, but today he is missing in action, and the reason why he's missing in action is because he's on an extensive speaking tour in the US, and so I've substituted him out. And today, instead, we have Van, who's joining me. He'll be co-hosting the podcast with me today. And I'll tell you a bit more about him in just a second. What we've always wanted to do on the Expansive Podcast is to really showcase and feature expansive organizations that are doing things in a different way, that are contributing to the world in a larger manner, but also to showcase expansive individuals, people who are breaking with the norm, people who are doing things in a different way for themselves. And I think today we have a great blend of both those things happening. So I'm very excited to have Van on the podcast with me. He's the co-founder and CEO of SIFT Analytics. And we're going to be talking a little bit about him and his story, his company that he built. We're going to be talking about Xero, who is a proud supporter of the pod today, and a company that I've actually, or a service that I've used for 6 years. So it's always really cool when you've used the service for a long time and then they become part of your story as well. So today, what I would like to get out of this pod for myself and for everyone listening is really to get an understanding of Van's journey. There's been some transformation and reinvention that I've seen. There's been breaking some barriers and boundaries, and we'll see how he's gone about doing that. So Van, I think where I like to start for today is when I was reading through your bio, I noticed that you used to be an accountant and now you're a tech entrepreneur. And that sort of story of reinvention always resonates for me because I used to be a physio and today I'm a keynote speaker. So I've seen the inside of this story and how it plays out. But tell me, how did that happen for you? Like, how did you go from accountant to tech entrepreneur?
Awesome. Yeah, great to be on, Erik, and looking forward to the show today. Big shoes to fill with John away, so no pressure on that front, but hopefully I can get it done as well. So my journey started in accounting, having studied accounting and then completing my chartered accountancy articles. Always thought it was a great degree to have, because you're kind of pretty well firmed in sort of business, finance, and tax. So you're kind of well-rounded, and it does open up doors to other ventures down the line. So my parents were both entrepreneurs or are both entrepreneurs. So that also kind of made me know that as soon as I finished articles, I wanted to leave corporates and try do something like new, different, try start my own business and sort of got out of the sort of corporate environment. But pretty quickly started running out of money, Erik, in the first few months. I didn't have much savings as a young 25-year-old back in early 2016. So actually ended up going back to my roots and starting an accounting firm in 2016 just to sort of pay the bills. And I also thought whatever I started outside of the accounting world would need an accounting firm or business for its own payroll, tax, and all of that. So I think it was kind of starting in the accounting, but then having the vision to be like, I wanted to use that as sort of my foundation for other ventures down the line. So
Got it.
Still in the accounting world though, very heavily and pretty much exclusively. So I think,
but not an accountant.
Not an accountant, yes, I guess.
Yes.
I think, maybe it's bridging. I mean, the software we build today, SIFT, is still in the accounting space. So it's a tech business, yes. And I think a fortuitous mix of circumstances. I met my co-founders, one of them my brother, and then another guy, Matt and Duran, back in 2016. it was just a good grouping of people that we were like, hey, there's a problem we need to solve in this accounting business. We want to give our clients reports that look amazing. And instead of doing that in like a laborious process in Excel, we decided to build some software to sort of take that accounting data from Xero and start to visualize it for those clients. So maybe like the right set of circumstances and the right timing that kind of led to the start of our business back in 2016.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think there's always, timing is so important. And there's that one TED talk where the guy is like, out of all the factors that are important for a successful business, timing is one of the most important. And timing from a timing the market point of view, like being at the right time, doing the right kind of thing. But I also think meeting the right people at the right time is equally as important. So you obviously don't have any like a technical background. You grew up as an accountant here. So who brings the technical expertise to this? How did you guys go from this problem that needs to be solved to actually creating a solution for it?
Awesome. Fortunate, my co-founder, Matt Stefanu, he's our CTO. So he's built out the engineering team, and which we've always kept in-house. But I think fortunate to have met him, as you say, from a timing perspective. I think I brought more of like the accounting knowledge and the accounting background, but having a CTO that's technical is critical to sort of starting a SaaS business. And that's allowed us to keep everything internal and never outsource any of our development. But it wasn't a sort of quick journey. It's an 8-year journey, and the first 3 years were quite difficult. We were trying to find product market fits. I was still working in my accounting firm, Matt in another consulting business. So we were trying to do other things, and we started building this business part-time using our sort of income from these other businesses to actually fund the thing over a period of 3 years. And again, from that kind of hitting on that timing note, we were also like sort of in our late 20s, so maybe not too many external expenses and responsibilities, so we could afford to invest some extra income into this business. So I think that also helped us like ride it out over a period of 3 years where we didn't get much traction, and sort of it was always money into the business rather than money out of the business before we could actually start scaling it from late 2019 onwards.
When you speak to entrepreneurs, you often hear the story, that initially we were looking for product market fit and we weren't quite getting there, and it felt very slow. And then, so I'm listening to you and you're going, oh, for 3 years, we didn't really get much traction. But practically, like, what does it mean? Like, what does it mean for 3 years you didn't get traction? Does it mean that you guys didn't hit a certain threshold of revenue? Were customers really just not interested? Did you end up having to completely pivot to a new solution? Like, was what you had in mind just not what people wanted? Like, what does no traction look like over the course of 3 years?
Yeah, so maybe just to give you like the granular scale, we started building it in September 2016. We went live with a V1 5 months later in early 2017. And we thought, let's just make it free. Let's get users on, let's get feedback. So I was ringing up other accounting firms and saying, hey, we've got this tool that helps you visualize accounting data. Maybe you can use it for your clients. And we actually ended that year with 500 users, not active users, but at least 500 people had signed up, tried it. And maybe, let's say 20 or 30 of them were using it and we were getting feedback from them. So that was a whole 12 months of completely free. And of course, money into the business. In early 2018, we decided to introduce a paid plan. And that essentially allowed an accounting firm to brand the reports of these graphs and visualizations they were downloading so they could provide it to their clients and sort of make them look good from that perspective. And we went through 2018 and all the way to mid 2019, and we ended with 50 customers paying us a monthly subscription, which isn't bad. I mean, that's quite sizable. You'll think north of 10 is maybe product market fit, but with a really low value, it's not much to sort of pay salaries, to hire people, for us to take any money out of it. So product market fit for us was probably getting a critical mass of features and then also being able to focus more on the business rather than an hour or two a day and sort of trying to build it on the side. So probably 3 long, hard years of kind of like doing what we could to get it there. But I think building slowly is also good. You resource constrained, so you can't build everything. You're always trying to make money, not spend money. So the bootstrapped route can be a good route for a business as well, and maybe the best route, because you are heading towards sustainability and trying to always make decisions that get you there the quickest.
So going from 50 customers, paying customers in 2019, where are you guys sitting today? What does the business look like today?
Awesome. So we've grown. I mean, I guess we ended that year with a team of 6 people, and we've scaled that up to 75 staff, primarily all here in Johannesburg. Appreciate it. Then we've got a few thousand customers, and we've got over 100,000 entities connected to Syft. So if you think of our typical customer, they're an accounting firm, so they may have 100 underlying clients, and then they come on as a customer, but they're serving 100 underlying businesses. So north of 100,000 thousands of paying customers, whether those are accounting firms direct or businesses who come to us as well on their own accord that want to actually buy the software for themselves.
Excellent. Geez, well done. What did you find was ultimately the thing that then allowed you to start scaling? Because obviously something must have happened where you started seeing, okay, if we keep doing this kind of thing, we'll get more customers. And people were obviously saying yes to you guys a lot more often. So what was that thing?
Yeah, I think, in sort of early 2019, we were like, okay, we've got this business. I mean, 50 customers is good. The software is awesome. It was very exciting to actually work on the business. So we're like, guys, let's double down. Let's all commit to contributing more money every month, and let's start building a team around it. So we hired our first salesperson mid-19, and then we continued to hire into late 2019. I think as 4 founders, we just decided let's focus on this. Let's put more hours in personally, but also more money in personally to start building it back then. And then we got into 2020 when COVID hit, which instantly brought South Africa closer to the rest of the world. So suddenly someone in New Zealand or Canada didn't mind jumping on a video call with us. It leveled the playing field for all software businesses, and no longer were there events that we weren't at because they were very expensive to get to. So 2020, 21 were fantastic years for Syft, and we sort of boomed because South Africa was suddenly part of this global economy like never before.
Yeah, and I remember that was very true for me as well, is that before that, most of my keynotes were local, and all of a sudden that year I did more international keynotes than ever before. And it's amazing how that traction has just kept going afterward. You'd think almost that we kind of revert back to a certain level of normal, or like revert back to the mean kind of thing. But at least in my experience, that hasn't really happened. Like, I'm not speaking at virtual events anymore, but the traction that was gained from that time has kept moving forward. Have you found it to be like a similar thing for you as well?
Definitely. I think we've maintained that momentum since 2020. So I think actually really positive for business being based in South Africa, that we can serve this global customer base. And it's no longer, I guess it's just commonplace now, whereas 2019 I remember so many calls that I'd jump on and people wouldn't attend, or they'd just miss them. It was like, video calls or virtual calls weren't a thing in 2019. Look, they were a thing, but people didn't respect them the way we respect them today. So I think that has been positive for us. We've also ridden on the coattails of Xero's growth globally, Erik. Xero's grown from maybe like 1 or 2 million subscribers back in 2018, and they're north of 4 million this year. So as Xero's grown, and being an app partner that connects to Xero and visualizes your Xero data and gives you those insights, we've grown with their business. So I guess an underlying macro trend where businesses were moving from desktop software to cloud software. And because we were integrated with them from early 2018, suddenly we like the number 1 app globally on the Xero marketplace. So that's allowed us to also grow with this trend towards cloud accounting over time.
That's incredible. I think it's amazing when you are platform based and all of a sudden you get all that visibility. It makes the marketing a lot easier, I guess. Tell me, how did that relationship come about? Was it did they approach you at some point and go, we can see that the people are loving your app and we want to have a conversation with you about it? Was it you guys approaching them? Like, how did this relationship get established?
Happy to dive into it. I think there's a lot of open APIs and marketplaces these days, maybe Shopify being the biggest, but we decided to integrate with Xero in early 2018. again, you can sort of do it yourself, developer docs available, and you sort of just get started. And then you get a listing on their app marketplace, which is quite cool because there's also things like security reviews, product reviews. So there's also a bit of assistance from actually the platform for listing on their service. And over time, I think we just started to do more and more Xero events. We've known the Xero team for 6.5 years. So it was cool. Let's exhibit at Xero events around the world. We'll do the Xero cons. We'll go to the UK, the US, and we'll have stands at their events because we're a big app partner of theirs and our tool works best with Xero. And naturally, over time, you start to meet people, develop relationships. So I think it was about taking those first steps. Let's get an integration out. We list it on the App Store. You're not going to get traffic instantly in day one, and Xero's not going to go and push you from day one. There's 1,000 apps listed. I think you've got to also put in the hard yards yourself to build a presence, to make sure it's meeting their customer needs and it's complementary to the features and functionality they have. So I wouldn't say a quick road, but a very exciting road to take, because over the years you grow and develop with them and you see which gaps you can fulfill. If you think of iPhone and the apps on an iPhone, Apple don't want to go and build everything on an iPhone, and they rely on their ecosystem of app developers to service additional needs.
Obviously, one of the, I think Xero in many ways, they pushed cloud accounting. It was I remember back in the day, at least for me, when my accountant initially said like we're going to move over to the Xero application, was very foreign to me. But all of a sudden my life was streamlined. It became much easier, saved me lots of accounting headaches. But it was a big push for them because it was very new. And I guess accountants, they like doing things, they used to do it. And so now you have to migrate people onto a new platform and do things in a new kind of way. And, there's always this sort of change and progress that is happening. And of course, we're seeing it right now again in the form of artificial intelligence. And I went onto your site and I see you guys have also implemented AI into your business. I guess it's like everyone has to do it at this point in time. But what was your thinking around bringing AI into your business? How did you guys think about the integration of it and how it serves your customers in a better way, the need for the adoption? What was the thinking behind your AI implementation?
Yeah, sure. Happy to dive into that, Erik. I think SIFT as a tool, we are all around analytics, reporting, and insights. So we're always trying to take data and make it look amazing and help a business owner understand their business so they can make better decisions. So we do feel a lot of the time we've got a specialist tool that visualizes data in the perfect way that a business owner would see trends, seasonality, where are the peaks, where are the troughs. So I do think a lot of our core features and functionality are already tailored to taking like a big data set and giving you a summary of it in a visual form, which I know AI is very good at. Where we decided to complement the existing features with AI is, although you can see trend and seasonality in a graph, you don't know what's underneath that sort of visualization caused those movements. So we'll use AI to summarize the actual transactional movements in, let's say, this visualization. So it's like, hey, Erik, June, your expenses were up because you actually spent more on advertising and you specifically spent more with Google. So you can't see that on the graph because it's like underlying data, but our AI summaries will feed you this data that then kind of gives you that little bit of extra to know what caused that movement. So I think we were always good at getting you like a visual representation, but there was always like, why did that happen? And that's where we've used AI to sort of solve that why for our customers. And it's available across every sort of report and feature in SIFT. You can summarize the reports with AI. You can get ways to improve it, but you can also get like the underlying causes of certain things, which is quite important. And it's typically answered via the transactional data that is sitting in your Xero accounts that feeds through to SIFT.
That's interesting. So like when you guys implemented your AI, did you go and do custom code for it? Or are you relying on some of OpenAI's tools they have available already to summarize some of that data?
Correct. We we are using OpenAI, so we haven't built our own AI. We're using their APIs to essentially leverage their functionality. With some of the new models like GPT-4o, it's really cool because the volume of data we can send and sort of the reasoning on that transactional data is much improved to previous models. So that allows us to send bigger data sets and get better answers from the latest model that OpenAI has released. Data is always anonymized though, so there's no like key identifiers that would allow you to trace it back to a specific person or business. But yeah, we are using existing tools available and APIs available to those rather than building our own model.
Are you also using AI in your own like personal life? Like, do you have different tools that you've kind of defaulted to, or not really?
Yeah. Definitely, definitely have my own sort of ChatGPT subscription and run things through there. I do love sort of summarizing documents with AI. I think that's a great use case. If you've got like a 20, 30 page document, I do like to use that as like an initial review and then dive into the detail post that. So other ways, I think converting unstructured data to structured data can be quite powerful.
Yeah.
So I see like lots of really cool use cases there. You've got like a very messy Excel sheet or even like a data set in Excel. And it's a good way to sort of clean that data or convert it to more usable data without having to go and like spend a few hours in Excel formatting data. So I love that use case. Any specific use cases you have, Erik? I guess one last one is we are experimenting with AI on our sales calls, both sales and account management calls, just to summarize the call, extract things like sentiments, questions asked, things along those lines. So I think it's nice from like a coaching perspective for our customer facing teams to give them feedback.
For sure. I think that's a really cool part of it. Like I like the integration that you guys have on top of the visualization. You need to understand the insight behind it. And even if I see the data and even if it's beautifully visualized, maybe sometimes I don't quite get what I'm supposed to do with it. And obviously I haven't used your tool, so I'm not quite sure to what extent that already happens in the tool outside of the AI like addition that you have. But I think that's one of the like awesome things about artificial intelligence is that it really has this sort of coaching stance if you use it in the right kind of way. And I've done that in many different ways. Like I've had it as a business coach or as a keynote speaking coach. I love you like uploading, for example, different templates. And I'll say, like, here's my keynote, pop it into this template and then into this template and then into this template. And like you get to see how it sorts and organizes that, like the data from that keynote in different kind of ways. And then gives you ideas for how to restructure it into a more storytelling kind of way. There's also, I don't know if you've seen Notebook LM from Google. That's been one of my favorite tools to use. And essentially like the feature that I'm enjoying the most is that you can upload, for example, like a book. So I uploaded my book recently, and then it'll create a podcast around that document. And the podcast is phenomenal. Like it's not just like two people just randomly talking. Like it's really like insightful the way you listen to it. And you would almost never tell that this was created through artificial intelligence. So what I've like been using that for is I'll upload a talk. I'll get them to convert this talk into a podcast. I'll listen back to the podcast. And very often they'll frame it in better ways than I would have framed it or in a different way. And then I'm like, oh, cool. I really like that. Let me bring it back into the way that I'm going to use it. So as like a brainstorming / coaching tool, I think artificial intelligence is incredible. And also from a content creation point of view, obviously, like to get you that, like past the blank page and get into some momentum, like it's absolutely incredible for that. As you guys have rolled out, have you encountered any sort of resistance to change, that people are resistant to new technology being presented to them, or just in general, like what have you seen in terms of people's adoption of new technologies?
Yeah, it can be slow. I think the old sort of bell curve of early adopters and then sort of the majority and the laggards is completely correct. You know, again, it's like new technology. People are typically adverse to change. Bigger organizations, there's things like replacing an existing tool, training a team. So even if you're coming in at a quarter of the price and double the functionality, so you 8 times better than what they're using, would they move because probably the price savings immaterial, and the effort to implement is high. So I think there's those factors that come in. Again, you've always got like two primary things. Can we make you more money, or can we save you money, whether we're saving you money or time? So it's kind of trying to play on those arguments, but difficult to drive urgency in either. So I think it comes over time. You are going to have like great conversations with early adopters where they see the value and they get it. But there are most conversations where you are showing them like functionality. You need to kind of hit on a key problem that your prospect or your customer has to get people to try it. So long road. I wouldn't say I've figured out the perfect formula for it. I've tried things down all those avenues, Erik, around like save you time, save you money, make you money. And I think it's kind of like hitting on those, but solving their problem at the end of the day and making sure you kind of stick to that rather than promising the world. It's maybe too much at times.
Yeah, I definitely think people are also suffering from just an overwhelm, a general overwhelm. There's so many different tools and products becoming available to us every single day. It's almost difficult to know which ones to use and which ones not to use, and to test all of them will take you just so much time. If I look at the amount of AI tools that like come in front of me every single day, like I'm tempted to go and sign up for all of them, but it's almost impossible. So I guess there's also that challenge, and that's why your value proposition is so important, is that like it has to really grab people and get them over the line, because otherwise they're just going to kind of blend into the homogenous like product hunt, all the newest things that have just come out, and like I just can't get to all of it. I want you to give me your absolute like best pitch for why tracking and reporting is so important for entrepreneurs. Because it seems like admin, I think, for many entrepreneurs, and we know entrepreneurs can get so focused on the thing that they are building, and that's all they pay attention to, and to their own detriment, by the way, because running a business is so many things, and getting your financials in order, like arguably the most important thing, because if you run out of cash, your business dies. So you want to make sure that you look after that part of the business. But I know especially like early stage entrepreneurs, like we can be so bad at that stuff. I remember my first year in business, 2015 or so. I remember going the entire year, and then I was like, oh, I need to do this tax thing. So I was like, okay, let me just send my stuff to an accountant. And he was like, oh, you owe like a lot of money in tax. And I was like, I don't have that money. Like I didn't realize I have to put all this money aside for tax. So like, every entrepreneur has these sort of stories. And if we paid a bit more attention to the finance, but also you don't get taught this kind of stuff, you learn it through the school of hard knocks. But if you had to like give a bit of a pitch to younger entrepreneurs, maybe who are getting into this world, and they might ignore tracking and reporting and visualization of data and business revenue and all that kind of thing, what would you say to them?
It's a good question. I do think as an entrepreneur, you focus on the future, you building the future, and you think the future will be better than the past. So you're not really looking back, you're moving forward, which is a good like mindset to have. You're optimistic, not sort of pessimistic about the past. So, but the past will inform the future. If you're bleeding through money month on month, the forecast for the future is bleak because you're going to run out of money. So I think it is important. I think, look, you don't want to be bogged down with it too early on in terms of like heavy accounting and over tracking things to the nth degree. I think it's an important part of the business. In a smaller business, cash is typically like the key metric. If that's going up or down, like that's kind of your starting point. So focus on cash in the early days. But as you grow, and especially in South Africa, you've got things like VAT that start to become relevant, payroll, and these things are critical to the functioning of the business. You can't not pay your staff. You can't not pay SARS your VAT that you owe them. So I think these are things that can kill the business. So you can't have these like one-off events kill the business, and they are manageable. So start getting the systems in place early. It makes sense to like have a tool in place early, start getting familiar with it, because as the business grows, it becomes critical, not a nice to have. And I do think the past or the historics, once you look at it, it does start to inform the future. What did I do this month that sort of got me there? So looking at your data and sort of evaluating that can help you plan ahead, but also replicate what you did to achieve good results and avoid bad decisions that maybe led to poor results in certain periods. It's a long pitch. It's not an
Mm.
elevator pitch, I'll tell you that, Erik, unless we're going up a very tall building. But
I think it's worthwhile the bit of extra time that took, because it really is such an important part of entrepreneurship. And the best entrepreneurs that I've spoken to, they speak the language of money. They understand it. And for a long time, I didn't understand it. For example, when my accountant would speak about my loan account, I was like, I just don't understand what that kind of stuff means. And I think the better you have a grip on what's happening in your Xero dashboard and in your Syft dashboard, uh, like just you become a better entrepreneur for it, a better business person for it, more well-rounded, and you have a more holistic view of what that future might look like and how to get there. So I'm definitely checking out Syft after this call as well. I love visualizations to start with, so you already have me on that, but I think I want to also have a bit of a deeper dive and understanding in some of my own business, for example. Listen, to start wrapping us out, I'd like to just ask you two more questions. One is, you guys have obviously been creating a bit of a global footprint for yourself, starting from the pandemic, as you said. What has it been like? We are on the pod. We are big fans of people doing international stuff, coming from SA. Like, we really champion that kind of work. What has it been like for you to extend what you're doing beyond the borders of South Africa? Like, what has been maybe challenging for you about that? What has been like, a way that you found has helped you to do that? Just tell us a bit about that journey.
I think I'm pretty excited about it, and I think we need more SA businesses serving the globe. I think it's a net positive. We're bringing money into South Africa, and we're able to employ like a huge team locally, and the rest of the world, we're 80% global, 20% local as a business. I think it can be challenging, though, accepting payments. So we partnered with Stripe in the US and established an entity there to facilitate global payments, because you want to be able to bill in USD or
is that the route that you guys took?
That's the route we took. And then
Stripe Atlas?
Yeah, so I think Stripe Atlas, Stripe for billing.
Okay.
And I think you do want like these solutions that are trusted worldwide and that your customers trust. If a customer's in the US, they want to pay in dollars, not in rands. So I think that was important.
Makes sense.
Lots of long, hard days. I mean, we've got teams starting at 4 a.m. and we've got teams finishing at 11 p.m. to service customers. We work on public holidays because the rest of the world's working. So I think you got to be ready for outside of the 8 to 5 serving a global customer base. But the markets are so much bigger. You think US maybe 100 times bigger than in South Africa, and also like a higher willingness to spend. So I'd love to see more businesses, and I'm hoping we can sort of enable that in time, maybe through better payments infrastructure. But I do think it's maybe the key to growth in South Africa, the sort of exporting from SA. But yeah, hard in reality, as I say, lots of long, late hours, calls at night, calls early morning. But cool to chat to people overseas. There's some great customers from Australia, Canada. So it does give you like a more holistic feel. I think we were fortunate that our space isn't too different in each region. There are nuances for each market, but if you're in like a very specific market, things are going to be either regulated or very niche to that market. But I think analytics and insights on your accounting data is kind of uniform globally.
Yeah, it's been interesting for me that, especially this year, I feel like I've seen more entrepreneurs head overseas than ever before. And when I say head overseas, I don't mean like actually like migrate. They're doing business more and more with overseas clients, especially obviously I'm in the keynote space, and I can't believe the amount of South African speakers that I've seen now go international and do more work abroad, to the point that I recently had a gig that I couldn't attend because I'm going to Mexico for a speaking tour, but I couldn't refer about 3 of my colleagues because they were all abroad as well. So very interesting. And I'm really happy to see that and to hear that from you as well. As we're closing out, we've spoken a bit about your journey and a little bit about Xero, but I'd like you just to close us out with why entrepreneurs should go and give SIFT a try, and why entrepreneurs should go and give Xero a try.
Awesome. So I think start with Xero because we're quite dependent on you having your data in Xero that's going to feed through to Syft. But Xero is just so easy to get started with. I mean, best part about it, you're going to connect your bank directly into the software, and this bank feed's going to draw in all that data, and really easy to just allocate your expenses. The invoicing tool's awesome. Send invoices, send reminders, send statements. So, I mean, getting paid is probably, and getting customers are like your two biggest challenges. So making that seamless and being able to do that even on the go via the app is great in Xero. Once you've got some data in Xero, come over to Syft, and it's super plug and play. In less than 2 minutes, you'll have your data flowing through into our platform, and then we'll have everything's done for you, visualizations, reports. You can go further and customize this, but it does give you a nice way to see your business and also maybe share reports if you've got stakeholders in your business, or just get a really simple dashboard that helps you see how your business is doing, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly. So
love it. I'm definitely checking out Syft when we're done here. So thank you for that. And just in general, thank you for jumping on the call with us today. You were a great replacement for John. You did a very good job as co-host of the pod today. So thank you for that. Any final words from you, just in terms of how do you think people can live a more expansive life? How do you think businesses can build more expansive businesses?
I think keep going. Probably it's perseverance. I think in the early days, we were, it was a tough, long, hard road, but I think it's persistence and dedication. So stay true to your goal. There will be dissenters along the way. Keep pushing, and I think you can get to that expansive mindset. Like, the future will be better than the past. Be optimistic and head down and keep going. It will take longer than you expect, but enjoy the journey as well.
Dude, I absolutely love it. And I think the title for this episode has to be "The Future Will Be Better Than the Past." I don't think you could capture it in a more succinct way than that. So thank you so much. Again, it's been great to have you on. And to everyone listening, please make sure to go check out Xero, go check out Syft. As you've heard today, I think it's very important for us to have a good holistic grasp of what's happening in our businesses. And it's not just about the products and the clients, it's also about the livelihood of your business, which is the cash, and understanding that and understanding the accounting side of it. You can't just outsource that and hope someone else is going to take care of it. You need to have a good grasp of it. And these days, I actually look forward to the looms that I get from my accountant running me through Xero, and like I feel like I understand it a lot more, and I feel in control of my business as a result of that. So I highly encourage you to go check it out. But as always, thank you so much for listening to The Expansive. We love having you along on this journey as we figure out what does it mean to live a more expansive life. We also have a little bit of a surprise in store, which I think many of you have heard by now, but we are bringing out a new book. The Expansive book will be coming out in 2025, and we'll tell you a lot more about it in upcoming episodes. So keep an eye out for that and ear out for that as well. And until then, be expansive.